After carrying out several food investigations, I started to look more closely at my own shopping cart. This investigation began at home, with what I was buying routinely and trusting without much thought. What started as a normal shop became a closer examination of the foods I buy regularly, the assumptions I make about them, and how cleverly they're marketed to feel like safe, healthy choices. It became a personal investigation, shared to encourage clearer thinking around everyday food decisions. When eaten frequently, certain additives and refined oils are linked to weight gain, inflammation, and metabolic stress. These effects build slowly and can impact long-term health. Because these foods are consumed daily rather than occasionally, their influence accumulates over time, instead of cancelling out. Protein is often promoted as essential, especially for muscle repair, strength, and recovery. And for people who train regularly, higher protein foods are often seen as a reliable, healthy choice. But not all protein sources are equal. When protein comes from processed meats, it often arrives with added preservatives, salts, and processing aids that aren't there for nutrition. That's why it's important to look beyond the protein claim and examine what else is included. These chicken strips are marketed as 100% chicken breast fillet, which suggests a simple, protein-focused food. And technically, the chicken used is whole fillet, rather than reformed meat. But when you look at the ingredients, the full picture is different. Only 58% of the product is actually chicken, with the remaining 42% made up of coating, refined starches, oils, and additives. Added phosphates are used to bind and stabilize the meat, while starches and oils increase bulk and texture. So while the chicken itself may be fillet, the product as a whole is far from being 100% chicken, highlighting the difference between what the packaging emphasizes and what the ingredients reveal. Hummus feels like a healthy breakfast choice, and it's been one of my favorites for years. But when I looked closely at this version, I realized why it was worsening my acid reflux. Alongside chickpeas and tahini, it contains added citric acid, refined seed oils, preservatives, and raw garlic. These ingredients increase acidity, slow digestion, and can irritate the digestive tract, especially when eaten first thing in the morning. That understanding was a turning point for me, and it's why I decided to start making my own instead. I buy Greg's vegan sausage rolls as a treat, as I'm not too keen on pork sausages. But I'm also conscious that many vegetarian convenience foods are classed as ultra-processed foods, and that's an important distinction. There's a common belief that choosing vegetarian automatically means choosing healthier than eating meat. In reality, that isn't always the case. What matters just as much as whether food is plant-based is how much processing it's been through. Products like this are designed to taste good and look appealing, but achieving that often involves refined oils, isolated proteins, added starches, and stabilizers, ingredients that don't appear in home cooking. Large population studies have consistently linked diets high in ultra-processed foods with poorer metabolic and digestive health, regardless of whether those foods are meat-based or vegetarian. That doesn't mean these foods should never be eaten. It means understanding what they are, treats rather than everyday staples, and recognizing that vegetarian, on the label, doesn't automatically tell us how nourishing a food really is. A chicken and leek pie is widely understood as a simple, familiar meal. Meat, vegetables, pastry. It's the kind of food many people associate with home cooking and comfort. But the ingredient list tells a more complex story. Alongside chicken and vegetables are added starches, flavorings, palm oil, and curing agents used in processed meats, including sodium nitrite. These ingredients aren't added for nourishment. They are used to stabilize texture, bind sauces, preserve color, and extend shelf life, all priorities in large-scale food production, rather than in home kitchens. UK public health guidance highlights that diets high in foods made this way, often referred to as ultra-processed, are associated with poorer long-term health outcomes when consumed regularly. The concern isn't about one product in isolation, but about how often similar formulations appear across everyday meals. What looks like a traditional pie on the surface can, in reality, be a carefully engineered product. A quiet reminder of how layers of ultra-processing can blend seamlessly into foods we recognize and trust. When you step back and look at the bigger picture, it's not just one product or one brand. It's the same types of ingredients turning up again and again across everyday foods. Something like a sausage feels simple, familiar, but how it's made can vary hugely depending on how processed it is. And this is where it helps to understand the difference between minimally processed foods, and ultra-processed foods. Minimally processed versions are still close to their original ingredients. Ultra-processed versions are often rebuilt, This applies to plant-based foods too. Vegetarian or vegan doesn't automatically mean less processed, especially when products are designed to look, taste, and behave like something else. Why are children central to this discussion? What this investigation exposes is the role of marketing and what is currently allowed. Ultra-processed foods are not just sold as products. They're sold as rewards, comfort, and social currency. Children are repeatedly exposed to marketing for foods high in sugar, salt, and unhealthy fats. Research shows this kind of advertising doesn't just influence what children want, it increases what they choose and consume. According to public health researchers, this isn't accidental. The modern food industry operates within a system that prioritizes growth and profit. As long as products meet legal definitions, they can be marketed aggressively, even when their long-term health impacts are widely questioned. The result is a system where large corporations continue to earn billions from foods designed for repeat consumption, while the responsibility for managing the consequences is pushed onto individuals and families.